Hello guys, Sujara speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode number 1167. Today back to Pepper Road's podcast episode 90. Samantha Kelly, who is Princess Peach and Toad and Remix. If you watch this episode right now of LJPCBM, get ready because you'll be in for a good treat. We have this begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I've played Barney the Dinosaur on tour and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Okay.
Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Carrie Stinson, and as always, I'm thrilled you're here this week. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is someone you've wanted to see and talk to, and she is here. You'll know her as the voice of Princess Peach. This is Samantha Kelly. Samantha, how are you?
I'm good, Carrie. It's so nice to hang out with you.
Oh, it's so nice to hang out with you, too. You have been someone that the fans have been wanting to have on this show for a long time. I'm so glad you could join.
Oh, thank you. It's a great honor.
Well, there's so many places I want to go. Obviously, we're going to talk about Princess Peach. So popular. Mario is so popular. But
Wow.
You've had a big career and a lot of different things that you've done. And so I really kind of want to start at the beginning, if that works for you, and hear how you got started into this.
Okay, how far back do you want to go, Carrie?
As far back as you'd like to go. I find it fascinating. You know, I had entertainment in my creative as a kid and didn't know where that was going to end up, but it was always there. So for you, where did that come from?
When I was a little girl, my dad was in the military. So
Wow.
we moved every 2 years and we lived overseas, all different kinds of places. And I was a super shy little kid, an introvert, and I loved dresses, like princess dresses, you know, these long, fancy dresses. And it was kind of like, because the rest of the world seemed so big and sort of scary to me, I just was in this little world of my own. And we came back to the United States. We were overseas for a lot of years. Came back to the United States, and here's this little girl I've never worn a pair of blue jeans in my life. You know, I wear dresses. And of course, like all the American kids were so mean to me and they bullied me. And
Wow.
and I was like, wow, you know, there's this world that's almost in your head that you know who you are, but the rest of the world doesn't see it. And so I had that kind of inside me as a little girl. And then my dad was always telling me, like, he would say, well, what are you going to do, you know, when you grow up? And I was like, well, maybe be a princess. And he was like, that's not a job. And so I studied journalism and writing, and I was writing for Alaska Airlines magazine, and I was covering, like, for a wire service, I was covering county council meetings and things like that. And the stories that I liked were not the county council meetings. It was like anything fantastical or beautiful or amazing. That was what I loved. And I started doing voice work, and I was doing commercials. And then my agent sent me the audition for Nintendo for the Mario games.
Oh.
And I didn't even know how big it was. I did the voice, and the voice was so natural for me for both Peach and Toad. I know later on we did Toadette and we did Baby Peach and a lot of other ones. But that initial audition with Peach and Toad, it was just meant to be. I love it. And then after I got the job, I started playing the games, and I realized, like, this is you can grow up and be a princess. I just want to say, you know, it's like, if you're just walking along with what you're supposed to be doing, I think eventually whatever you're supposed to be doing finds you.
Well, isn't that fascinating? As you're telling that story, that you wanted to be a princess and you became it. I think it's fascinating. So there's a lot of things there I want to talk about. The introvert, first of all, how do you turn to the opposite? or how do you
Mm,
you find that place where you could be an introvert, but at times you have to be an extrovert.
yeah, yeah, that's huge. For me, I found I got into acting.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned you're a performer from way back, and because it's weird to say it, but if you're an actor, in some ways, you're putting on makeup, you're putting on a mask, you're putting on a
Wow.
face, and it gives you courage. Like having a costume
Mm-hmm.
causes you to be something bigger than you are. It's how we
Mm-hmm.
are superheroes. It's how we are kings and queens. It's all the
Mm-hmm.
things that we wish we were. When you put on the costume, you actually are. And so that's what I always encourage young performers and people who want to be voice actors or
Mm-hmm.
actors is that it really doesn't matter if you're shy.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, sometimes I think that being shy makes you a better actor
Mm-hmm.
because you live internally. And so you're able to bring, it's like what Orson Welles said acting was. He said, acting is where you bring your full on authentic self into an imaginary circumstance,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we get to do. And so as an introvert, you get to do that, and you put on your costume, you put on your suit of armor, and there you are. And I think you get better at it by just doing it. Like I used to be super nervous about doing interviews, and I'm a little nervous because
Mm-hmm.
I love Barney the dinosaur, but I also like it's
Wow.
really fun. Like eventually you go, that is fun to talk with another human being and to share your heart. And there's nothing to be afraid of if you just bring your real self.
Well, absolutely, and I think you also, it's why I want to do this, because you learn a lot. Some things are in
Mm-hmm.
common, and some things uh, aren't. I was very shy as well. When
Really?
I was younger, I was very shy,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad, he was too, and he figured it out by doing public speaking. So he took speech classes in college.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I would do that, and I actually passed out in the first speech I had.
Wow.
I didn't eat enough food, and I got nervous, and I passed out. And for whatever reason, that didn't stop me. I think it even though it scared me, I I just had to keep going because I knew within me I was a performer. I didn't really know, all of those things, but I knew it was there. Um, what got you? You're talking
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about journalism and then voiceover, which you're putting yourself out there. I know people don't see your face, but you're still putting your voice out there, um, and you're taking a risk. What got you to take that risk? And let's, before we get to Princess Peach, but just doing commercials.
Yeah, good question. Um, I think it's a challenge to take words that
Mm-hmm.
someone else wrote and make them real. And I think every actor loves that challenge
Mm-hmm.
because
Wow.
you're bringing something to life. And the
Mm-hmm.
guys who do Nintendo, they do it all the time with the animation, with the music, with the story, and
Wow.
we get to do it as voice actors. And
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, at one point, so I was living in Canada and I wasn't eligible to work yet. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought, well, I'm going to explore theater because you can do a lot of community theater. And so I was doing that. And then I was doing, different volunteer television things and stuff like that. And I thought, well, maybe I will be a television actor or actress.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing auditions. And the funniest thing, okay, there are some people who are really good at being on screen. And then there's me because
Mm-hmm.
my face is really expressive. And so I would do the television audition. And when I'm happy, I'm like, ah, I'm so happy, like it's big. When I'm sad, I'm really sad. Like I'm good on
Wow.
stage, but I'm terrible for screen because everything is so big inside me. And so for someone like me, it's really fun to do video games because and cartoons because it's super big, and nobody's
Mm-hmm.
gonna criticize you for your big cheeks, for just getting so excited. So
Wow.
it's actually a good match. And I feel like, to your question, it's like you start with one step. So you do what's right in front of you to the best that you can. And
Mm-hmm.
then you trust that as you go along, you're going to know, hey, this door opened up. Maybe this is more my area than this area. And then you find out, well, this is the thing I'm going to do for this season. And I always know the door opens right where you're supposed to be.
I that is I love that. I did a little bit of that myself. and I've told this on this show before, but I wanted to be a singer, so I took singing class
Mm-hmm.
is in college. I was absolutely horrible. But
Oh,
I got it. But I
come
got
on.
an A in the class, right? No, but like you were saying about
Yeah,
your
yeah,
big,
yeah.
the emotion. It was the same thing. She was
Yeah.
like, she gave me an A in the class, and she said, if your voice could match the passion, but I knew
Wow.
that wasn't right for me. But I had tried it, so I knew I could go on to something else, and I would
Mm.
ultimately find what that would be. So I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what all the traveling, how that affected you, and what that role had in what you've been doing.
Um, I think the traveling, I never felt at home because we were
Mm.
always, I mean, I think I went to 7 different second grades, honestly.
Wow.
Wow.
So really unstable, uncertain. Um, I never felt like I knew what was going on. I didn't know how the school was laid out. I didn't know what you were supposed to do. A lot of times I didn't know the language of where I was living. And I think it did two things. Well, it made me scared, but it also made me really resilient.
Mm-hmm.
And it also, I'm at home, like wherever I am. And I found I've started going to cons lately, the video game cons, where you get to hang
Mm.
out with people who do cosplay and they play the games and they love the games. And I'm like, wow, these are my people, because
Wow.
I feel like you finally find a community where nobody feels like they fit in and so everybody fits in, and that's like the most joyful thing. I keep saying that if everyone could be in the world the way that people are at cons, where they're just totally open, they admire each other and they
Mm-hmm.
want goodness, they want kind things and happy and beautiful things. And if
Mm.
everybody did that in the world, the world would be such a beautiful place.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to get more into cons later in this conversation because I've been to some and it's crazy. The connection with the fan, it's such a cool thing. So you
Mm.
audition for Princess Peach,
Mm.
not realizing
Wow.
how big this thing's gonna be, and you get that. When did you realize when you started doing the voice what a big deal it was?
Well, first I'll say Jen Taylor was doing the voice before me, and I feel just blessed. I mean, she has a great voice,
Mm.
and I feel just blessed that when I was trying to match her tracks, my voice did that. So she
Mm.
really, I feel, created these
Mm-hmm.
characters. Although one of the things that I believe is that like none of us are Princess Peach, none of us are Toad. We're all because,
Wow.
and then if you
Sure.
play the games, like sometimes you are Princess Peach, you're Toad. All
No.
of us
Yeah.
are these characters. Um, I realized it was a big deal. I was a new stepmom to a little boy, and he was, how like they always expect that stepmoms are supposed to be evil. And so I was
Wow.
like, oh no, I'm not evil. Like just, what if what if he doesn't like me? What if this isn't fun? The first few months that he was in the house, we got a Wii and we got Mario Kart. And he and I, we made avatars of him. We made a me of him and of his mom and his brothers and all the people he was
Mm.
missing. And we played with all these characters together. And I was like, this is really a real thing. And this is a game that can be used for good. And the funniest part was sometimes when I was racing, if I would race with Peach, I would get so excited, and then I would make the same sounds that Peach was making, and I was like, "Oh, this is a
Wow.
real thing!" That is my voice. That's what I sound like. And so it was just, it was a joy to me to see
Oh,
what a beautiful game it is, and the games, all of them. But
wow.
for me, it was especially Mario Kart, we racing with our son Desmond when he was just a little kid, and
Mm.
bonding. It was bonding for a stepmom and little boy.
Oh, that's beautiful. When did you realize it from the fans that what a big deal it
Oh
was?
goodness. Not until I started doing cons. It
Mm.
didn't seem very real to me. I'm sort of slow on social media and things like that.
Wow.
And so I started doing cons about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, actually pretty recently. And
Mm.
that's where I started realizing, wow, these characters are iconic. I mean, the thing that most people will say is, you're the voice of my childhood. Um, and then I think the thing that makes me the most proud is that I feel like Princess Peach is a character that girls
Mm.
can identify with. A lot of times in this world, you feel like the world is going to require you to
Mm.
be more masculine in order to succeed. And the thing I love about Peach is that she's very feminine, but she will take you down. Like, like she is tough. She's not messing around, and she will do it with a parasol. And so there's something about that I feel like, and do it kindly. And it's like there's something about winning with a smile on your face and a parasol that is a great inspiration, just goodness for our kids and for our girls, especially. So I think as I started talking with families and really seeing the difference that it makes, it made me enjoy it even more, on a whole other level. I don't know if you experienced, I'm sure you did when you said you started going to cons and talking with people.
Well, I did. I have, and I also know a lot of people. A lot of my friends are in this, and so I've seen reactions to different things, and it's really cool. The passion that they have for them. I love hearing the stories. I've seen it over the years with Barney, what it meant to kids.
Yes.
And even adults now that, have such a fond memory of it. I think it's such a cool thing. And it's interesting, as you were saying earlier, which I love what you were saying about the other voice and the whole group. We had that as well. There was a couple Barney voices and people that played in the costume as well.
Yes.
And it's tricky because you have to lean on what the other one did, but there's also things change as you go, and so finding that it's a challenge, and it's really cool as you notice. The fans notice every little thing. Oh, Carrie, you're the one that does a little this and that. You the other one did this. And the new voice did this and this and that. Are you? And it was definitely in my head. You think about it a little bit, but you also just have to go out there and stay true to the character. Is that something you do as well, where you just you've taken the baton, and now you've gone forward with the character?
Yeah, that's really perceptive. It's something that, let's see, I've been doing the voice since 2007, so it's been a while. It's been a second, yeah. And I feel like the evolution of Peach and the voice, it has come when we show up in the studio to record a new game. We don't know what the plot of the game is, and it's all brand new to us. And a lot of times we can't share it until it comes out, which is usually a year later. So it's kind of special because in that moment you're realizing, oh, they're going this direction. And a lot of times we'll have a whole crew of people in the sound booth or in the editing room who are coaching us and telling us, okay, let's try that. Try this, but do it cuter, but more angry. Or they'll have like all these little directions, and so she comes together kind of as a team effort as we put it together, and we'll do something and then go, is that adorable? Is that cute? Does that sound strong? What do we want? And then before long you get the soup, just how you want it. And I think that's it is based on the nature of the game and the artwork, the things that they're doing, and then you just kind of feel it like, oh, this is going to be a little sassier, this is going to be a little tougher, and to walk like that. Like I feel like in Smash Brothers Brawl and Smash, that Peach, she's a little tougher, I don't know. And I have so many guys come up to me at cons, and these are guys who are taller than I am, and they'll go, I love playing Peach so much, and because you sneak up on other guys because they don't think you're going to win if you're wearing a pink dress and have a parasol, but you do. And she has some superpowers, and some guys can play her and just win all the time, much to the dismay of their friends. But it's fun, It's just fun. So yeah, I think the script and the team determine the direction of the character, and that's how Peach has grown to who she is right now.
And when you're doing it, is there any visual for you, or are you just, is it words and phrases, or is there a script, or is it kind of, how does that go?
Oh yeah, there's the script, and it's really funny because a lot of times I'll come in and record after Charles. He plays Mario, of course, and he's so much taller than me, and so I'll come in and the board where they put the script is like way up here. And I'm like, was Charles in here earlier? You pull it down, and so the script will sit there, and that thing is precious. As you know, it's like that. Nobody gets to see that. It's top secret, and so after we record it, we give it back to the the guys and don't speak of it, because it's special when the games come out. They want it to be really, really special. So yeah, we'll have scripted. We'll also have visual. Sometimes, and I don't even know what you call it. Kenny would know. It's where you match your voice with the animation. We do that a little bit, but for the most part,
where you're syncing up a little bit.
yeah, that's a little tricky. But you count it down in three, two, one, and then make the sound based on the movements of the character. But we also have
Hold on.
a picture or a
Please ignore the sirens in my background. Continue on.
frame, and it's more inspiration of this is going to be the look and the feel of this character. And now we want a short sound that expresses this. Now we want a long sound that expresses this, and so we just play around. I mean, who in the world you get to go and play around with sound? It's so fun. It's like being a little kid. Like when you're little and you make all these voices and faces and stuff, and to get to do it, it's like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, and I know all about sync because I had to do that with the voice. So I was having to move
Yeah.
around, do a voice. So I know all about sync and I know how difficult it is.
Wow.
The challenge involved in that.
Yes. And you were doing your own movements too, right?
Yeah, I was doing.
You had no one to blame but yourself.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It takes a moment. I think that's important too, as a lesson for people that want to get into this. Is that you don't just take the job and boom, you got it. There's a lot of practice. There's a lot of things that go involved into it. I had never actually been in a costume when I got the job, and so there was a lot to learn and a lot of that aspects of it to get to where you are. Are you a perfectionist, or are you able to critique yourself?
I'm not sure if this will answer that, but I can tell like when I've done a line, I can tell when it's not quite right. And a lot of times they trust me to keep going until it gets right. And once I hear the right one, then I can stop. So I don't know if it's perfectionism. I can just tell when it's right. I mean, and then there's the humbling part where I do that, and then they go, "Oh, we'll take the first one." like
Wow.
the first one, and I was judging whether it was okay or not. So I guess that's why it's important to have so many different ears to tell what really is, because it is hard to tell for yourself. Mostly, I think I can, but then I would. So.
Well, it's great that you have a team like that. That I think that's really important, where they trust you and you trust them, and that's where you can find that success. So, how often do you record? Because I'm curious.
Not very often. Yeah, I mean once every couple years, probably.
So, when is it hard for you to jump right back in?
I always get scared before I go in. Like, what if I don't know how to do this voice anymore? But once we start, it is just the voice. Like, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Peach, sometimes I worry about because it's such a high pitched voice. But if I just relax and it comes. Toad is just fun. Oh my goodness, that voice is one of my favorite voices to do. Although I can't do Toad first. Toad has to come after Peach because it just destroys. I mean, speaking in a lower register after Toad. But
wow.
To do Peach or Baby Peach, you have to be nice and clear from the beginning.
Well, and I'm curious about all that. Okay, so because you really never trained, right, as a professional voice actor, you just kind of auditioned and went from there. Is that correct?
I took a few acting classes in college, but my dad wanted me to have a real job.
Wow.
Sometimes he's like, "Hey, this thing doesn't work out. Let me know."
Right. I know all about that. So kind of where my question's coming from that is, so how did you learn what you're saying there, that you have to do this voice before that voice because it's going to do this to my voice, and how do you kind of take care of your voice? What have you learned doing that over the years?
Yeah, just from doing it mostly, and doing it wrong. And I think it's been like there have been times where the team really wanted to record Toad first, and we do, and then we go, "Oh, Peach doesn't sound quite right after Toad, so we have to do Peach first." And they just know it and they respect it. And I think also the levels of energy, because there are different lines that have really high levels of energy and ones that are lower, and so we'll want to do the lower ones first and then work up. And we record for maybe 4 hours. Definitely drink lots of water and all that. It's just basic. basic stuff. I mean, but I think just from doing it, and talking to yourself, and I always tell young actors to read out loud, anything that they can.
Mm.
When I was in college and I was trying to figure out what was something else that I could do, because I think I knew I was a performer, even though I was studying journalism, and I started reading, like they had college
Mm.
textbooks that you could read for students who were blind, and so I would go in and read the textbooks. Whew, that you have to take a breath and you have to
Yes.
practice, and so I think just reading anything out loud and trying to sell it, trying to make it so that people believe it's absolutely true, that that helps you as an actor, especially a voice actor, to mess
Yeah.
around with sound and figure out what really is going to be effective for what you're trying to do.
I was fortunate in my early days to do the with Barney to do the live performing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
I learned the responsibility of it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because, and I've said this before. I was looking for a job when I first got into this, and I was looking to stay in the entertainment world. And then all of a sudden, when you do this in front of people, a big audience,
Mm.
you see there's more to it, right? There's a responsibility to it. When you're doing things for kids and a younger audience, this is a big deal for them, right? They love it so
Uh-huh.
Mm.
much,
Yeah.
and for the video games, a lot of times it's their
Mm-hmm.
escapism or place for them to relax or those
Mm.
things. So when did you kind of realize that this is more than a job? Like Peach has to be
Mm.
right, right? Toad has to be right. There are millions of people that are going to play this game, and they're going to know if it's not right.
Yeah. If you watch this, David, for you, buddy, continue on.
Yeah, well, it's kind of what you said. I mean, I like what you're saying. The responsibility. That's such a good word to use. I read an article during pandemic. It was talking about people who play video games, and it was saying that they looked at the mental health of people who don't play video games and the mental health of people who play video games during pandemic, and the ones who played the video games had a way better mental health. And a lot of it is
Mm.
because that world is intact. Like our world is gone off the rails. But
Right.
video game world, you know what
Well.
to expect. You know the characters. You know there's going to be kindness or whatever it is that you're experiencing in the game, and that is helpful to us as human beings to have a place where we can go where
Mm.
we know how it's going to go. And especially like you said with kids, because I'm a mom. We have a 9-year-old daughter, and she has special needs. She has Down syndrome, and so my community, when we had her, just got. I had never done anything with special needs ever in my life, but now I have a whole circle of families and friends and
Mm.
people who are on the spectrum, or have Down syndrome or other things going on. and
Mm.
and the thing that my husband and I have discovered is that everyone has special needs, like we do. We just don't have a title that we can put on it. And so there's a certain kindness and effort that we put into these characters that, especially when I'm at a con and I meet a lot of kids and a lot of friends, and some friends have special needs, and it's like, I
Mm.
love it. I love it because all the worlds come together, and that our highest mission is probably love, and that when you get a chance to love people and give them something that's beautiful and safe and kind and worth, let them know their worth. I think as performers, that's one of the greatest things we can do, is to tell young people and old people how valuable they are, and to
Mm-hmm.
give them love.
We have a big following on this show of
Mm.
special needs, uh, kids on the spectrum, adults. Um, a lot of them followed Barney.
Yep.
It's
Mm.
such a beautiful community. They are so on top of everything that goes on. I always have to watch when I'm telling stories because they seem to know everything that we've done.
Wow.
So I always got to get it right. But it's very inspiring. It's very
Yeah.
that group is very inspiring. Um, they're very proud. Um, it's just absolutely beautiful. But it is you find that responsibility because they absolutely love this, and I was lucky to learn that at 23 years old that
Wow.
something's different. Okay, I have to grow up really quickly because this is a
Mm.
character that means something. to people.
Yeah.
And that love issue, I love that you say that, because it's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
It is, and I think that our friends with special needs is like have so much courage because even just being a shy person, it's really I know how hard it was for me to talk to somebody. And when I'm at a con and I'll see a young person come up and they're working with everything they've got to speak and say hello and connect and eye contact and everything, and it's so much beautiful effort, and I
Mm-hmm.
just I love it. I'm so inspired, like you said, and the courage, the strength, and the
Mm-hmm.
superpowers. Because I also believe like that if you have a
Mm-hmm.
certain area that is different from other people, that is your superpower. And so, like you're saying, how some of your friends maybe on the spectrum can go, wow, Carrie, you didn't tell that story quite right because you forgot this and this. Well, that
Wow.
brain is so smart and it's going to keep track of the details. And bravo, like we need that in this world. And then my daughter, so the teacher
Wow.
yesterday told me the question for the class was, "What is your superpower?" And so afterwards, she pulled me aside and she said, Do you want to know what your daughter said that her superpower is?" And I said, "Yeah, what'd she say?" And she goes, "Being a friend, a
Wow.
really great friend." Oh, I couldn't be more proud. Like, exactly. Being a really great friend. That's the best superpower ever. So
Wow.
I feel like the ways we can celebrate each other's superpowers, that's how we walk forward strong.
I love the direction. It, yes, there's a lot of craziness going on in the world. There's no
Right?
no question.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But there's a lot of examples of that I see out there that tell me that we're actually going in the right direction. We just need to highlight that more. Is really it, because
Yes.
that answer to that question is, I'm blown away here at this second, because you don't that's not the answer you would expect. And
Mm.
what a
No.
No.
beautiful, I absolutely love that. I also love that you were saying earlier about people that you wouldn't expect wanting to play the role of Peach in the game. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's important too, where, earlier on, they were kind of, this is a female role and this is a guy role and you can't do this and that. And I think you're seeing people being comfortable, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
all of us allowing people, or understanding how great it is to be whoever you are, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
whatever you're, wherever you land. I just think we're getting there slowly,
Mm-hmm.
but I hear more and more of these stories, and I think it's wonderful. And I think it's games like this and characters like this and the things that Barney did, all of
Mm-hmm.
those things that let people understand it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's
Yeah.
you. That's what's most of, just be you. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if someone tells you you play like a girl, you go, "Thank you."
I love
Absolutely. Any other
it.
questions? Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you said at the beginning about wanting to be a princess, and making that happen. I think that's beautiful too, because you see that so much. And it's like, well, why can't you be that?
Why not? I think we're all princes and princesses and superheroes and dinosaurs. And the more that we can live in that, like kids get it. We're the ones who are missing it. If we
Yeah.
can fully live in that, then we'll be young forever and we can have so much fun. Because there's not a lot of other stuff that's encouraging right now. It's like just
Wow.
living with your joy. That's the best.
It is. It
Mm-hmm.
is, and I absolutely love that. I love that. What what is it like going to these cons, and actually meeting these fans?
Well, first of all, I was so terrified. Like, I did
Wow.
not want to do it.
Now,
I
why
went
why
into
is
it
that? Why is that?
shy and not sure. I didn't know what that community was like. And I
Uh-huh.
thought, maybe they'll be mean. I was bullied when I was a kid. And what if people say mean things? And what if I can't take it? And then, so the man I have an agency, the guy who's my agent and his partner, they were trying to contact me to go to SAC Anime Con in
Oh.
Sacramento. And they emailed me and they called me, and I just ignored all of it. Because if
Wow.
you get an email from someone going, "Hey, do you want to come to this thing and we'll pay you money for it?" You're like, "Yeah, no, that's a scam. I'm not going to do it."
Yeah.
So I just ignored them. And then finally, this guy was so persistent, and he gets through to my husband, who is a big old teddy bear, who's like the sweetest guy in the world, and who's super social, the opposite of me. And he ends up talking with Chris, and he just loves him. And he's like, I really think you should think about this. And I'm like, no, you could not pay me enough money in the world to do that. I'm not going to do it. And he just kept talking with Chris, and he said, I really think you should consider it. And finally, I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I went,
Wow.
and I am telling you, I had so much fun. I would have done it for free. Like the people were so kind, and all the things that I was afraid of, they were the ones who reassured me because they
Mm-hmm.
told me we're because first of all I was like, well, I'm not blonde like Princess Peach, and I don't look like the character, and what if I disappoint people? And they just said it really doesn't matter. We just want to know you, and
Mm-hmm.
they've always said that, and it
Mm-hmm.
makes my heart so happy. They just
Yes.
want to they just want to know who does that voice, and so there's no wrong answer. And I think at first I thought there was a wrong answer. And then just like I said, seeing that community and seeing how beautiful they are. Plus, I'm so passionate for cosplay. I love it. The
Mm.
costumes, I'm such a geek. I will follow someone around a con just, to get a picture. And I can't help myself. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
really, really fun. So just the collaboration and the joy and even the panel, that was the part I was afraid of because I don't play a lot of video
Mm-hmm.
games.
Right.
So I'm afraid if you put me on a panel about video games, they're going to ask a question and I won't know the answer.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times I don't know the answer, but I could say, I don't know the answer. What is your favorite thing about that? And everybody's got answers. So it's not like you can mess it up. Like just go there, have fun, and you know, just be
Mm-hmm.
yourself. I think so. I learned after that. I was like, how many can I go to? When can I go to the next one? Can I dress up? I'm such a geek. Oh my gosh, it's so awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, they're very cool. What's the let's say a couple questions, top questions that you get from the fans?
Always the top one is how did you get started? Um, you know, uh, the maybe sometimes they'll ask questions that I can't really answer. Like they'll go, "So what do you think Peach is doing in the castle when Bowser has her kidnapped all those times?" And I'm like,
Oh.
I don't know. I can't answer that question. That's a Nintendo question. So, but I love sometimes the creativity of the questions, and I'm sure you've experienced that too, where you go, "Wow, that took an incredible brain just to think up that question."
Oh,
Sometimes I'm just sitting
I
here in
do.
awe.
I do. It blows my mind on the things that the questions they think about, the things that they capture on the. In this episode, you did this in season 9 of the,
Wow.
right. And I'm like blown away that they remember those things because I can't remember all of those things.
That's so cool. So what's one of the top questions that people ask you?
Oh, my number one question by far is, was it hot in there? Everyone will.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it hot?
Yeah, it was. It was. But yeah, that's the number one question I get. Which doesn't matter if it's if it's someone 17 asking me that or it's someone 60. They all want to know that question, which is quite amusing because to me it's a little obvious, but
Yeah, it was hot.
it was quite warm. Um, and then the panels, I guess they're just really wanting to know about the character and you and what's involved in all that.
Yeah, and a lot of times I'll be with somebody like Kenny, who plays Bowser.
Yes.
So a lot of times I'll hang out with him.
Yeah, Kenny's been on this show and he's just awesome.
Which I did react to.
Yeah, I loved his story.
Excuse me. Which I reacted to before. Continue on.
Kenny's been on this show and he's just awesome. And I loved his story as well.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. So I'll be with him, sometimes with Charles. And then I'm really looking forward to in January, Sac Anime, the first con I ever did, going back there.
Which, by the way, I saw bits of Charles Monterey, something like that picture. I did not see him in person, but I saw Bill Farmer, the voice of Goofy, Jason Watson, the voice of Tio for the Weekenders, and Max Goof, something like that. And Steve Whitmire, the voice of Kermit and other things, in person the first time in MobileCon. So there you go on that. Continue on.
Jen Taylor is going to be there, who did the original voice of Peach, and so I'll get to see her. And then also, I think I'm not for sure yet, but I think Laura Faye Smith, who plays Rosalina, might be there as well. So, wow, we'll have Charles and like everybody. And to me, it's just like that'll be really, really fun. So it's kind of fun when you're at a panel and you have all your friends with you because someone will start a story and then you can play off that story and you could just listen, sometimes just listen to the stories because they're so good. And then a lot of times the host is so, like you, very skillful at pulling things out and getting stories. And then they'll have the different people from the audience come up and ask questions if they have something. And that's really fun too. Because a lot of times they're wearing a cosplay and I love to see it. It's really fun.
Do you have a favorite that you've seen of Princess Peach?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. My whole Instagram is just filled with Princess Peach cosplay because I can't even, like, when I look at it, I'm just like, oh, she's so adorable. I can't even stand it. So yeah, I'm a super cosplay geek. If anyone follows my Instagram, you're gonna see Princess Peach cosplay all over the place.
And we will connect. We will connect to that. We will send people out to go check that out. I'm gonna have to go check it out now after this.
You'll be amazed.
Wow.
You'll be amazed. They're really cute.
It's unbelievable. There's been some of our Barney fans that have created costumes, and it absolutely blows my mind how they do it, because I know how the original was made and the team that was involved and everything they did, and to see people that are able to do it watching the TV show and things like that, it's just incredible. And so I can imagine the costumes of Princess Peach.
Wow.
Yeah, the detail is incredible. There's one girl I know who she just finished her Princess Peach wedding dress from the wedding scene in Odyssey, and she it took her an entire year to sew it by hand and to sew on each crystal, and it's radiant. I mean, and she looks just like Peach, so it's just, it blows my mind. But that kind of dedication for an entire year, working on every single detail so that it can be absolutely perfect. Yeah, I have huge admiration for it.
Wow.
You'll see her on my Instagram too.
We will check that out. I can't wait to see it, because that stuff it is absolutely amazing. Talking about Kenny, and I want to do this with you as well. You'd never know he was Bowser until you see him do it, and how he gets in the character. It's pretty impressive. And then he snaps out of it. Do you have anything that inspires you to get into it? Or do you just say, well, jump in? And I learned this from doing Barney. There's that high part you were talking about, that high energy part, but then there's also a very low part. There's a gentle side to him as well. And so you could be way up here, and then you've got to drop it down and kind of hold it there, and then kind of go back up. So how do you do that? How have you been able to do that?
It's almost like it sounds shallow, but this is something to try, for anyone who's watching this, who's an actor and who wants to try it, is sometimes if you hold it, what they call it, an artifact in your hand when you're doing it, like this pen or whatever. And sometimes it helps me, I don't know, to hold a pen. And I almost can conduct myself or conduct Peach, if she's going to go up higher, I'll conduct it and just remind my brain, hey, I'm going to go higher with that. And then I think the physicality, I mean, obviously I've been a princess since I was a little girl, so I know the movements that Peach does, and there's a certain elegance and dance-like quality to what she does, that I do that, and with the physical stuff too, like, because some of these games are super physical, and it's like, how do you sound falling into a pit of lava? You almost have to make yourself fall into the pit of lava in your brain and fully be in it. With how does that sound? And so we're very physical. I know Kenny is as well, but just in that little booth, just in a booth that looks kind of like this with the egg crating on the back, that you just put your whole body into what you're supposed to do, and the sound comes out, and you really mean it. It's not like, oh, I'm going to pretend now to do this. It's like, no, I really mean this with everything I got right now. And and then for the lower energy ones, definitely using something, to be a pen or whatever, just to kind of hold it. It gives you more confidence, and also to direct yourself with it. Is that weird?
That's fascinating. I love that. Was it hard for you to be acting? So be in a room with people watching you, and you're actually acting out the character, which it sounds like you obviously needed, which I think we all do when we're doing these characters. Anytime when we would do rehearsals, we would be out of costume, but I'm still doing the jump and doing the arms
Yes.
and all that stuff.
Yes.
It just
Yes.
that's just, after all those years, that's just part of it. So was that hard for you at the beginning? Because I don't know that I was like that at the beginning, but then it just, you embrace it and you know what has got you here and all those things. Was that hard at first? To be acting in front of all these people and conducting yourself and all of that.
So it's
like a mad scientist, right? But that's what makes it work.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's right. It's hard to think back, but I think you're more self-conscious when you first start doing a job because you don't want to be weird. But it is like the more you can fully put yourself into being okay with being foolish, then it's great. And you're right. That's how you get the result. And then I think as we're seeing, oh, we love this result. This result comes from hopping up and down 3 times and punching yourself in the stomach. Let's do that again.
Wow.
We sound like we're underwater. And it becomes the more foolish it's the result. And then if you get people to laugh, as a performer, or they love it, then you've just gotten some kind of reward. So I'm a big fan of being foolish. I love it.
I love it. One of the other things that I learned over the years was when I first did this, it was all physical. So I just used I was a cross-country runner, so I just used my physical aspect to doing all the movements and all this kind of stuff. And then as I got older, I started realizing, well, wait a minute now. I could just use my hands here, and I could use these movements, and I don't have to run for this, and I could do this and this and that. And it added depth to the character, but it also, I wasn't about to pass out all the time like I was in the early days. And as I got older, it allowed me to do, I was into my 40s still doing it because I was able to do these other aspects of it. What have you learned from when you started doing the character to, now 13, 14 years later, that has helped
now 15 and 16 as I'm taping this LJB ads. Continue on.
Your performance and with this character?
What you're saying is that it's like as we get older, maybe we
get smarter.
We're more strategic. It's like, how am I going to endure this and do this well? Obviously, I didn't have like the amount of physical like you would need for yours at all. But I think being relaxed. And when I was younger, I think I was always, hyped up on Diet Coke and like ready to do whatever. And there was a certain tightness to it. Whereas now, it feels like if you can just relax, remember to breathe, and really listen inside, it's like, what are we going to do here? Like you're saying, the nuance of it. What would make sense with this? That before I was just going to barrel through. But I appreciate the nuance. And I think, how can you do improv if you aren't relaxed enough? And some of the cool, times are where they're going, we don't quite know what to do with this. What would Toad do here? What would Peach do here? And to be able to pull that up and do it and to have them like it, it's really fun. So relaxation, confidence, being older, for sure, and longevity. I guess.
Wow.
Somebody when you're in a booth and it's really hot, like it's not as hot as a Barney costume, but it is like hot, and I can feel like little rivulets of sweat running down my back, and I'm just like, whew, and so you just go out, drink water, keep pacing, it's going okay, and keeping the mind where the mind needs to be. If the mind is where the character is, the rest of you, it really doesn't matter what the rest of you is doing.
Makes a lot of sense. What do you think has kept these characters so iconic? I mean, they have been around for a long time, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. In fact, it seems to be the other way, right? That they're just becoming more and more popular. You're seeing them in theme parks now.
With the movie,
movie. I mean, what they're doing with the theme parks is unbelievable. The games, obviously, video games have just gotten more advanced and more popular. Why do you think these characters are so iconic?
I think they're something that that dads and moms can share with their children because we grew up doing it, and so then we can share that with our kids, and then they're growing up and they're sharing it with their kids, and I'm just seeing generations go through. And I think also really they're very they're based on things that are pure, like kind of straight up just simple, like love. um you know, there's a sweetness there's a sweetness to these characters, and I think we'll always be hungry for that, and especially when it comes to what we let our kids hang out with. So it's like, wow, that's something I can share with my 5-year-old or 6-year-old, and they'll love it. So I think it's for that reason. Plus, they're just super cute characters. I mean, Nintendo, right? I mean, Mario is adorable, and Luigi, and I love all of them, and even Bowser. He's all
Wow.
right.
Well, I loved
So
Bowser.
turtle.
I loved Bowser, but then after meeting Kenny, it just took it another. You know, I think there is something about seeing the people behind the voices that just makes it even more special.
Is it? Do you think it wrecks it for you though, in a way? Like if you have a vision of the character and then you meet the person who does the character, do you go, "Oh, I didn't envision that." I mean, does it ruin it for you in any way?
You know, it's interesting in this world, which you know, is I do. We have kids entertainers and teen, you know, anime and all of that. Every one of them that I've has been on this show and that I have met over the years loves what they do and appreciates the audience, and I think they understand what, you know, we were saying earlier about responsibility. So I met other actors that are in movies and things are like that. Maybe it's a role for them, but I think for us it's more than that. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
especially these days, right? We get to meet our fans and we get to see those things. So no, it doesn't, because when I met Kenny, he was so passionate, and the story of how he got it and then what he did, he was doing. I mean, it was just.
You okay?
The key that I have found is authenticity, and
Yeah.
there is no question he is. And meeting you, I can see how much you love what you do, and I'm very impressed that you worked through those things to get to this point. You know, being shy and all the different things, and you just, you know, found your way. I love that.
Yeah, if I can do it, anyone can do it. That's for sure. My mom used to always tell me, you know, when you grow up, maybe you could be a librarian, because I didn't speak until after fifth grade. I couldn't speak to anyone but my family because I was so shy. And so my mom envisioned me locked in a research lab somewhere.
Wow.
Boy, what a surprise! Found my voice and a few other ones too.
But see, that's why these things are so important. These stories are so important. You know, to let kids know that that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you, and you know, you already had it figured out up here. You just had to figure out how to get it out to the world.
That's right. Thank you for saying that's right. And you know, all those times where I was bullied for wearing dresses and for thinking it I was a princess or whatever. It's like, you know what? Be you. Like it really just it is really for the rest of the world to catch up to your vision of who you are. And if you're tough enough that you can walk through it to get to that, then the reward's on the other side.
Well, and I think you know, obviously the bullying part is horrible, but you actually get something out of that as well, right? Because for you, it probably makes you a little tougher, and jumping into this business that can be tough. I kind of put this all together because we get told no, right? A lot of times we're told no. A lot of times we're not told anything, and it just means no, and it is not personal at all. Because someone else fit the role or whatever it may be. So even though that was horrible going through being bullied, it probably helped you in a lot of ways to find your courage and be proud of yourself that you were able to get through all that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what I learned was to face the thing that makes you afraid, because if the fear, it's not the person that's making you afraid, it's the fear of the person is your real enemy. And so I learned that you just face it, and it helps you with anything, like whatever you've got to do. If you're a little afraid of it, just go after it, and you'll find it's nothing. It's just a shadow. There's nothing real behind the thing that's making you afraid. And once you do that, then you're unbeatable. And
Wow.
so yeah, I guess, and you're right. You know, I think that is one of the other things that is good. You know, if you're going to be an actor and you want to work towards this, is to practice taking direction. and that means just listening. What do you think this person wants? When I went to college, I was working as a waitress at night to make money to
Mm-hmm.
go to college.
Makes sense.
And I discovered, waitressing is performing. Like if you perform in a way that your table feels fantastic about you and they're so excited, you're going to make more money. Awesome. It's a
Wow.
performance job. And so many of our jobs are performance jobs. And if you just take it that there's no small job, I'm going to do this and I'm going to please the audience that I see in front of me, then you have that ability. And if you can listen with your ears, like, and with your eyes, like, what are the directions? What are the things they want me to do? And then you just kind of take care of that. And it's quite a wonderful challenge. And it really leaves your life like you're living a life that's a bigger adventure than just the thing that you see on the surface. It goes all the way.
Well, that's such great advice. It's such great advice for people, because I know sometimes you're in those positions and you don't realize what a great position you're in, right? When you're waiting tables,
Yes.
I'm just making money or this and that. And you were able to, use it really. Which you
Build your
all-
muscles.
I know. I think it's
Yes.
brilliant. It's brilliant. Do you have another piece of advice that you could give? We have so many performers that watch this show. Do you have another piece of advice for them?
Yeah, make friends. Make as many friends as you can, and tell them your hope. Wow, I'm interested in voice acting. I want to find out more. What did you do? Who do I talk to? How do I take classes? And if you ask questions and then you listen to the advice of people, anyone wants to help. Like, and when you feel like you're helping somebody, you look out for opportunities for them. And so, wow, I know this guy who would go great in this, and then you recommend them. And I think just being kind and meeting people and letting them know what you're interested in, you open up so many more doors than if you're just quiet and hopeful but never say what you really want. What do you think? Like, what do you tell young actors who ask you?
For me, it's going out and trying all these different things. As I mentioned earlier about singing, I have you name it in this industry. I tried tap dancing because it's something there was something there. I was not great at it, but I loved it and I had a blast. I've taken hip hop dance classes.
Yeah.
I have.
No, I'm not a hip hop person. Sorry. Continue on.
An art. I have took photography classes, which I'm now a photographer as well, and I absolutely love it. I have tried all about anything you can in this industry. I actually took voiceover classes. I took a few, and I realized how quick you had to speak. I don't know that my mouth can keep up with it, but I think that's an important thing is understanding trying, and it's okay. I don't have to wonder about any of these things because I've tried, and some of them have worked. Obviously, the purple dinosaur worked out really well. And I've never been in a costume, and I ended up having a 22-year career. And I had fun taking tap dance, and I met people, and I had a great time. So I think that's really important. And don't. I think we worry too much about the results. Well, what am I going to get out of this? What's going to come out of this? I have no idea. Yeah. My greatest mentor came from a photography class that I just happened to take, and she has inspired me more than I to see the world differently. And I had no idea. I just went in, thinking I was going to take a 6-week class, and I've got this lifelong friend. So I think that's an important part as well.
That's really good. And even the idea too of not expecting that you're going to do it perfectly in order to consider it a success is just like, hey, I'm going to do this. And that's how you become a master anyways, from repetition. And we would never repeat it if we failed and then never tried again. So it's good.
Well, yeah, I mean, many times in my career, you've probably done this as well. They'll ask you, have you ever been in they asked me if I was a dancer when I started doing Barney. Can you dance? I said, yes. I couldn't.
Sure.
My mom was a professional dancer, so she worked me through all this stuff. But so many times I took risks because I wanted to get there. And so I said, yeah, sure, I can do this. Sure, I can do that. Sure. And a lot of them I couldn't. But I wasn't going to lose the job, so I was going to figure out how to do that. And it sounds like you've done that a few times in your career.
Yeah. Yeah, and do you think that everybody kind of fakes it to a degree though? Because I always thought there were people who, well, they totally get it. If I were like them, then I would be there. But it's not. As I get to know more and more friends, especially in the entertainment business, that
Mm.
everybody's a little bit feeling incompetent. Nobody quite feels like they have it, and so there's just as much a chance for you to do it as anyone else, and me and anybody. You can do it. We're all a little insecure about it, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, and the funny thing, you say that it's absolutely true, and I think it
Mm.
took away a lot of pressure.
Yes,
Right? When I started
yes,
realizing, like when I was talking to some of the people at Barney, how'd you get into the business, this and that? A lot of them the same. A lot of them weren't professional actors that went to school and trained for this and this and that. They had these crazy careers. I was like,
Mm.
well, that's a lot like my story,
Wow.
and I
yeah,
think it built me my confidence up.
yeah. And you find out that people are human beings too. You're
Mm.
talking to somebody that you really are in
Wow.
awe of, and then you realize just a really kind person or a really real person, and so why am I so intimidated?
Mm.
All right, I'm one of those too.
I know. I want to ask you real quick. So, what do you got coming up next?
Okay, so the big thing that I'm doing that I'm a little bit nervous about is coming up this week, and it's actually it's actually an Instagram live signing. We're gonna do an autograph event. I've never done an Instagram live in my life. Like I've done so many video games, but I've never done a live video on Instagram, and I was freaking out. I was like, oh no, I don't know if I can do this. And so I called up Laura Faye Smith, who plays Rosalina, and I said, what do I do? How do we do this? And she goes, oh, I did my first one just a few weeks ago. You can look at the video. And it's so imperfect. And it helped me. I mean, she's beautiful because she's beautiful. But she's just like, oh, hi, guys. This is my first Instagram live that I've ever done. So,
Huh.
not sure how it's going to go. And she's just so casual. And, it's
Mm.
not like she had like a super speech prepared or anything. And I was going, oh, okay. So that to me is the next big thing that I'm excited about and scared about. The thing I really am excited about, though, is you had mentioned the amusement park, the Universal and Super
Wow.
Mario World, and so I got to do the voice for Peach and for Toad for those parks, and
Which, unfortunately, I never want to go there. Sadly. Sorry. T1.
but I haven't gone to visit yet because they just opened the one in Japan, and because of the pandemic, it's just all happening a lot slower. So I'm super excited someday to go in person.
And plus, when I go to Orlando, it's Disney World. So, let's just say, for example, if I go, the pandemic is going some places, it's terrifying. You know, what was I gonna think about? Because of that Japan thing. Oh yeah, it's just China's the only one left in the pandemic. I can't remember what I was gonna say. Gotta think of a while. Okay. Okay. Just gotta get back into me. Continue on.
See those and take our daughter and ride the rides and just live in that world for a while.
I've seen a little of it online. And it just looks absolutely amazing. And they're bringing it over here as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, it'll be probably in California and Florida, and there's probably going to be one in Paris. And
Yeah, I've been in Orlando so many times, and Universal Orlando Florida twice because I want to see Barney, not just Super Nintendo World. It's a stupid place I want to go because I'm not going there. It cost me like money to save, and plus I don't want to go there so badly. It's not my recommendation at all. But anyway, continue on.
all over the place. I can't wait.
Yeah,
I can't wait to tell my husband. I think we need to go to the one in Paris.
Wow. I forgot this is in my head. Super Mario Bros. Movie. It will come out in theaters this year. It's not rolled by Samantha Kelly or it's played by some of the actors who will be playing the role. Jack Bobby Bowser, and some other actor who played Mario at the time. So there's gonna be a lot of actors gonna be playing Luigi, things like that. There's gonna be a lot of difference in the movie from this year, and the Animation, Nintendo, and Universal Studios, and to come out in theaters. Continue on.
I think you're right. Well, this has just been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carrie. What a pleasure to meet you and make a friends and get to chat. I really had a good time.
Well, it's been such a pleasure having you on. It's wonderful as well, having a new friend. And I love your story. I love your story, and I love your advice. It's great advice, not only for anyone wanting to get into this industry, but anyone that's been in this industry.
Oh, thank you very much. And I liked yours as well. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, friends.
And thank you for watching Purple Roads. My name is Carrie Stinson. And remember to keep your eyes, ears, and heart open, and you'll find your purple road. We'll see you next week.
So that was Purple Rose episode 90. Samantha Kelly, Princess Peach, and Toad. What did I say about this episode? It was amazing. So far, this episode was a success. That was LJPCBM episode number 1167. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned. The next one's going to be Purple Rose episode 91, which is a terrible waste of time. Till next time, Sue Joseph by episode baby. Good world, you guys can pursue. So sit out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I fail to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. I ask, why me? Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.